In the comments of my first DLC video, you guys made me aware of some extremely well-hidden secrets. For example, there's a secret cross in the Bellarat Tower settlement. Where you find the congregation here, you can actually jump down onto this piece of rubble and go through a hidden door. Here you'll find where Mikola abandoned his Sinistral arm, as well as the usual Scadutree fragment. And here you can also find a talisman that increases your attack power by 20% for 30 seconds whenever summoned spirits die. This has extremely good synergy with certain spirit ashes. For example, some spirit ashes summon multiple spirits, and whenever one of these dies, you get the buff. Or better yet, you can summon multiple spirits with the Soul Jar's spirit ashes, which actually commit Sudoku all by themselves, so you get the buff whenever one of them does that. Or, even better, in my opinion, you can summon the skeletal ashes, like the militiamen, and when these die you get the buff, but they can resurrect themselves, helping you to keep the buff active as they continue to die and resurrect throughout the fight. This is a fun talisman. And speaking of spirit ashes, let me show you how to unlock a really good one. So there's a back and forth you can facilitate between Thiollier and Moore that leads to you getting Thiollier's Concoction, a brew which can coax even the oldest of dragons to sleep. And you meet one such dragon early in the Jagged Peak, who spends every night foregoing sleep to lend strength to her lord, Placidusax.
May it grant you sleep in your place beyond time.
However, if you slip Florisax, Thiollier's potion, during this time, she'll sleep for about 24 in-game hours, and Placidusax abandons her for this. Now, afterwards, you won't be able to get any more dragon blessings from Florisax, but after killing Bale, she'll pledge allegiance to you instead, and you'll be able to receive her spirit ashes. She's a great NPC Spirit Ash if your build utilizes lightning damage, as the weapon she wields has a skill that increases enemy vulnerability to lightning by 12 to 15%. And she's actually one of the only Spirit Ashes that actually has a voice line.
For my noble lord.
Now, by doing her quest in this way, you'll also get rewarded with a powerful defensive lightning buff called Dragon Bolt of Florisax. But unfortunately, taking this path locks you out of getting both her weapon and her dragon form, which are the usual rewards for killing Bale, so this is something you should do on New Game Plus, if anything. Next, I've now realized there are 5 new bell bearings hidden in hanging pots around the world. The one you'll likely want most is the String Seller's bell bearing, which can be found in a pot just west of Prospect Town. String used to be so hard to farm, but with this, string can be infinitely purchased at the Twin Maiden Husks, which enables you to easily craft the Drawstring weapon buffs, which are great for maintaining weapon buffs during long boss fights. Another essential component of weapon buffs are knot and root resin, which can also now be purchased infinitely with the Greasemonger's bell bearing in a pot south of the Church District High Road side of Grace. Next, go to the Rivermouth Cave side of Grace, head west, and look up. This bell bearing unlocks mushrooms and red flesh mushrooms for the majority of hefty pot recipes. For white flesh and toxic mushrooms, go to the Elak River downstream side of Grace and break the pot in front of the waterfall. To unlock infinite Rada fruit, head south of the Pillar Path waypoint side of Grace and look for this pot. Finally, head northeast from the Recluse's River downstream side of Grace, break the pot, drop down, and unlock infinite fly mold. Next, there are 3 places that I know of so far where you can duplicate remembrances in the DLC. One is fairly obvious, it's located here just outside of Manus Meta, but the others are kind of easy to miss. For example, ride through the Finger Ruins near the Cerulean coast and head off to the right of the path here and look for the coffin. The last one can be found on the northern edge of this Finger Ruin, and it's located here. For number 5, if you've been having trouble taking out multiple Smithscript golems in the lava forges, the best tip isn't actually to hit them in the back, it's to use crystal darts instead. These will cause the golems to malfunction, essentially, and they'll attack each other just like any of the other golems in-game. Before I go on, I want to quickly say that I have some new merch. It's a hoodie with great fabric quality and the design on it is a great sword. That's it, that's the merch. The Moonlight variant is only going to be available for a limited time, and the Nordic runes along the blade actually have a hidden message, so check it out if you want to support the videos and get some fashion in return. Next, there's something else in the Moor ruins that's easy to miss and very important. It's this underground pathway, which leads to Bonnie Village, and beyond that, basically the entire northeast section of the DLC. But before we move on, there's something bizarre in this village that I haven't been able to figure out the lore for yet. It's this giant shed snake skin located here. What is this thing? You'd think it would have something to do with Mesmer, but then this serpent looks very different to his abyssal serpent. This model actually looks a lot more like the serpent god, or even Eagle in the temple. But then, does this snake really have a connection to those characters, all the way from the realm of shadow? I've got some theories, and I'll keep trying to puzzle this one out, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think as well. Next up, Moor.
Things bring joy to all.
To get the maximum amount of things from him before his quest moves on, there's a certain pest you'll need to find. Now, there's 6 friendly pests found throughout the world, and they all give you forager cookbooks when interacted with. But a couple are a bit trickier to get because the pests are injured. For these, you drop a sun warmth stone or a warming stone by them, then reload the game after they're healthy, and then interact with them. If you heal the pest by the Church of the Crusade in this way, then Moor will be appreciative and he'll give you a 7th rare cookbook. This cookbook comes with the ability to craft spirit raisins, which give Torrent a consumable charge attack, which is borderline useless, unfortunately. But it also lets you craft charming branches, which can turn a group of enemies friendly, so that is an extremely useful consumable to have. Once you safely have this cookbook, the fastest way to get Moor's armor, shield, and bell bearing is to tell him to remain sad forever. After this, he'll pass away, cradling his friend's dead body. Alternatively, you can kill a pest and he'll invade you. And when he does, he's not bringing joy.
This thing cannot be forgiven.
Next, have you discovered the furnace golems with the shielded feet? To defeat these, you just have to fight fire with fire, literally. Get up high and throw a furnace or fire pot into their giant brazier from above. By the way, if you need more Scadutree fragments, you're not just limited to field items. Some have found their way into the bellies of these hungry hippos. These hippos are located here, here, and here. For this next secret, you might have noticed that I've started saying Scadutree different in my videos, and that's because I've seen a lot of commentary going around regarding its correct pronunciation. Apparently the word Shadu comes from Old English and means shade or shadow, so this is a shadow tree and it's pronounced Scadutree, or shadow tree. I guess that's fine as well. Makes sense. It sounds a lot better than saying Scadu all the time, so I was very happy to be educated on this. Next, if you looked at the map and saw this island and wondered if you can get to it, you can. There's a secret path right off on the western side, and it's underneath this cemetery shade enemy located here. But the real secret is what's on the island. Inside the mausoleum is the dancer of Ranar, who, in my Rykard lore video, I recently speculated might be related to Tanith, because Tanith is a former dancer from a foreign land, and luckily it seems those speculations were on the right track. Thanks to Zully the Witch, we now know that the dancer of Ranar shares over 90% of her face data with Tanith, Thus, Tanith is almost certainly related to her in some way. Perhaps Renar is the foreign land that Tanith was from before Rykard took her as his consort. Next, this painting in the northeast of the gravesite plains is unique because it shows a place you can't see yet, and thus you can't get the reward until this place is revealed, so just progress the main quest line until that happens. But if you're interested in getting there, head to this location in the Lower Ruins area, and break the Spirit Spring stones just up this path. Head up this massive bluff, and at the top you'll find a mausoleum fight and, of course, the painter who gives the Spiral Tree seal, which increases the power of spiral incantations. Next, we've shown this old woman before, and we've talked about how returning to her wearing the lion's head will give you a new incantation and some dialogue, but if you return again, she'll have made you a delicious scorpion-cooked stew, and you can keep returning to her for more of this stew, since it does give you a slight buff, but if you return after killing Messmer, you'll receive an even better stew.
I have prepared a dish in celebration. 'Twould please me much if thou might partake.
The buff this stew gives off is also really small, and it seems you can't get more of this one even if you wanted to. Now, the real secret with this stew is that if you take the first meal to Hornsent, then he'll have a gift for you.
Take this for your troubles, won't you? I desire not to be in your debt.
For number 14, did you know that there's a difference between NPCs summoned inside and outside the boss fog gates? Summoning NPCs outside the boss fog will scale the boss's HP up dramatically, whereas if the summon sign is inside, you actually don't have to worry about anything changing. I think this is to encourage some interactions with important NPCs that have flavor dialogue during the fight.
Curse you, Bale!
Though some NPCs summoned outside the arena do also have things to say after the fights too. Freya is one example.
That was a fine battle indeed. It heartens me that another warrior stands among us, among the beckoned.
If you made it this far, here's a bonus secret, and it's that the lava tears are just like little pets for the Smithscript golems. Lots of people have been posting about this one online. This interaction is found in the second lava forge in the northwest region, located here, and this is one Smithscript golem that you don't want to hit with a crystal dart. Thank you for watching. Check out the Greatsword merch and the limited edition version as well if you need a hoodie, and I'll see you in the next one.